Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Socially Desi Show, the podcast that motivates you to live, create, and inspire. If this is your first time here, welcome. On our show, we discuss tips and strategies with our guest speakers on how to tackle problems related to personal growth, mental health, relationships, entrepreneurship, and health and fitness. So hit that subscribe button and go check out our website at sociallydesi.com for more of such content. Today I'm joined by my friend Shivam. Hey Shivam, welcome to the show.
Hi Anurag, thanks for having me on the show, and a big thanks to everyone who's listening.
So Shivam is a DevOps engineer by profession. He has an experience of more than 3 years now and he has been working with companies like Popexo, MyGlam, and he's also very much passionate about esports like I am, and he has been working with some very Area 51 kind of projects with Riot Games. So, Shivam, with that, I welcome you to the Socially Desi show, and to our audience who are not aware about you and the kind of work that you do. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Okay, thanks a lot, Anurag, for having me on today's show. It was quite a surprise for me when you asked me, but I was immensely happy that, okay, yes, I'm going to be on Socially Desi show. Because it's been like 4-5 months since Socially Desi is live, the website and podcast, and I've been associated with it for quite long, but it was like all, in silos. But this is the first PR for me from Socially Desi's perspective. So I was very much excited about this. So, yep, I am a DevOps engineer. Come software development engineer. I'm working for Popexo, which is now a part of MyGlam. Mm-hmm. It's quite a known platform for women. It's about, all about women and also e-commerce. So I'm handling backend tasks, APIs and everything. Apart from that, server management for them. I've been deeply indulged in migration process for them when they migrated recently, a couple of months back, from Amazon Web Services to Google Cloud Platform. So I was an integral part of it. So my whole career has been around this only, managing servers, deployments, integrations, and, migrations from on-premises to cloud, from cloud to cloud and everything. Mm-hmm. So I've been associated with that. Apart from that, yes, I'm a passionate gamer. I've been into esports industry for like 6.5 years. I've now started streaming on my own as well. We have got a channel also as well, and Rag is a part of it. So there are tons of things we are doing in collaboration, and like slowly, gradually coming up with everything into the PR world. So socially, this year I've been associated with Rag. I've been associated for quite a long, and in terms of everything like gaming, podcasting, entrepreneurship, and everything. So that sums up my life. Yes, and I was quite into radio jockey thing and anchoring a while back, but since I joined this tech industry, तो दिल के अरमां आंसुओं में बह गए and everything. तो ख्वाब थे.
Was it something that you really wanted to do, or it just happened by chance?
No, so since school time, like there were 2 zonal level radio jockey hunts that I won back to back consecutively.
Wow, which
2
city,
years.
dude?
So like, yeah, Bareilly. Small town in UP, but yeah, it was a Rohilkhand region. So there were around 100 plus schools which participated, and I got back the first prize 2 consecutive years. So it's quite an amusing story. The first year I won it, the host school. वो तो हर जगह ही होता है कि partial and everything. So they were yet, but when I won it, they were asking all the winners to tell something about the experience they had of a 2-day fest. So what I asked them was, please do host it next year as well, because I've been hearing from a few people ki tukke mein jeet gaya and everything. So I said, like, I would love to come here and beat you once more.
Oh, nice. That's the attitude.
So the next time they hosted it, I got again there. So they were like, अच्छा फिर से आ गया, like फिर से आ गया, जीत के जाएगा. And I won. So it was quite a fun moment. Like school time was quite a fun moment for me, and that continued in the college as well. I was a cultural secretary there, so I was been hosting, anchoring, organizing fest and everything. So I was quite pretty much indulged into stage activities and stage appearances. But since once you dive into the corporate culture, you have to sacrifice. And that's been going on. But thanks to you for reinitiating it and giving me a chance to be a part of it.
No, yeah. I mean, I've always seen that, you have that energy and the kind of passion that somebody looks at when you want to do something new or you want to do something that is close to your heart. And I believe, that's why we gel a lot with each other, be it on, working on Socially Desi. And I know we would be disclosing a big news as well on this podcast going forward. But yeah, I mean, and our association, it doesn't start with Socially Desi. We go long back. I mean, last year I remember, we met through playing Counter Strike actually. So, Shivam, why don't you tell everyone how we met?
I guess it's late 2018
Yeah.
when we met. So once we were playing, me with a few of my college mates, we were playing Counter Strike, and we had we get random players. So we got Anurag in our team. So we had a conversation. Then actually, it was not me who was in that match. It was one of my mate who was there. So he brought up. We had a common WhatsApp group named CIG, which stands for Coders in Game, our clan name. So he was introduced to that, and he became a part of the family then. And then we met, then we explored things. We also, initiated some small projects together, which are still flourishing. One of which is Socially Desi, and one of which is what we are going to disclose today. From there, from just gaming buddies to friends to partners in crime to partners in business and everything. So it's something which has grown over the past 1.5 year, and it's grown stronger, and I hope it continues for the eternity.
I'm sure it's gonna continue for eternity, man, and beyond that as well. We're gonna meet in hell and gonna party there as well, man. So
That's true that we're gonna go in hell.
and we're gonna party. But yeah, I mean,
Party hard.
it's true that we met through playing Counter Strike, and from there we started the association. And last year, when I was thinking about Socially Desi, while I had my other businesses, we were working on that. But I had this in mind regarding Socially Desi, which was supposed to be a blogging website where I wanted to write and do something. And then it slowly turned into a podcast, and I wanted my own YouTube. So a small, information for all our viewers. Socially Desi actually started off to be a YouTube channel. To be frank, when we started thinking about it, I had plans that Socially Desi is going to be a YouTube channel where, I'll be interviewing hosts on the set, calling them into the studio, and we would be having a great day, chill out the whole day, talk about things, create content, and have a YouTube video ready for the release. But since the whole COVID scene happened, and I didn't get much time to set up my whole studio, so the project was like it got shut, like, for some reason. But then we thought that why not start a podcast, why not do something, at least we can build our audience, we can build our influence online, and by the time we get something concrete in hand, then we can do the video thing as well. So that's when the idea started flourishing. And then I got in touch with Shima. I was like, dude, I want to make a website. Can you help me with a website? And he was like quick into it. I mean, even though he was like working his ass off for like 14 hours a day with his company, but he really helped me out over the weekends and late nights, and we got a structure in place for the website. And that's how Socially Desi began. It was just me and him thinking about how the website can be up and live, me bringing the content, and him actually structuring the website, making sure that things are in place, and we can have like all the necessary things that are needed for a website to be launched, like all the basics in place. I guess that was something that I really needed from somebody, and Shivam was actually very much intricate, and he jumped up to the occasion, and he did all of that. So Shivam, thank you very much for actually giving that push, because I think that somewhere down the line, for me to start Socially Desi, the website at least, I needed that kind of a push from somebody who can like come in and say, "Okay, chal, theek hai, boss. You are doing that. Okay, let me help you out with the IT. Let me help you out with some structuring, so that at least some of your headaches are gone." So I would like sincerely like to thank you on air today. So that everybody knows that, yeah, I mean, the IT guy, when it comes to Socially Desi, Shivam was behind it, and he was been working for it for a long time.
Thank you so much, Anurag, for addressing it. And actually, it has been great working with you, being associated with you, and I've always felt like a positivity in what you think, what you perceive, what want to achieve in your life. When you came up with that idea of socially desi, actually the name caught my attention. It was uh, very thoughtful of you to bring in such a name in this time. And when you came up with the idea, I was like, yes, the times are such tough that we need something to come up with. And the whole thought process which you presented in front of me, it really catched me up, and I was like, I'm up for it, buddy. No matter what happens, I am up for it, and I'm still up for it. Whenever you need me, I'm there. And yes, since I'm part of socially desi now, so you cannot, I'm inevitable.
Yeah, I'm sure we make a good dynamic duo, man. But like, okay, for the big reveal, I guess Shivam, the stage is yours. You should do the big reveal for everyone on the Socially Desi show.
Okay, so there's a big reason why today is the day chosen that I'm here in this podcast. So, guys, I'm very happy to announce that we have yet another podcast of our own, Namaste India. And Anurag is the co host with me over there. Anurag, thanks a lot for helping me out and starting up there. So, Namaste India is all about, raw, unopinionated, and bringing out the truth, bringing out what's happening all around you, presenting and telling you what's actually affecting your lives, and focusing on only those things which are of use and of impact to us in our daily lives, and not of any crap. And for the past 95 days, it makes me feel proud to say this, for the past 95 days, we have been releasing an episode daily. We haven't missed a day, no matter how hectic our days are, no matter how much clients Anurag has to attend, no matter how much Zoom meetings he has, no matter how many deployments do I have to make. But yes, we release every day our podcast on time, and we've got a great viewership. We have around 4K views on various platforms included. And congratulations to you, Anurag, for getting it up and having attained such milestone.
Congratulations to you too, Shivam. So, I mean, guys, this was the news, and I've been keeping it under wraps for a long time. A few of you must be knowing about it, like the close friends, they must be knowing about the other podcast. But yes, I mean, it's true. I remember 18th of May was the date when we put down our first episode, which was Lockdown Ka Phase 4. So it's a English podcast. So it's a mix of English and Hindi, and we try to bring in whatever is happening around us and whatever our society and culture is going through. So that's the whole podcast about. So 18th of May was the date when we released our first episode, and it has been incredible 95 days for us that we have been releasing every single day, no matter what. And we've been growing organically. I mean, yes, we have more than 4K listeners right now on various platforms. I mean, I'm really glad that people are liking the kind of content that we are pushing. And the whole idea behind this was to challenge ourselves, no matter what, work we have in our hand, no matter how busy we are in our lives, we used to make sure that, boss, at least we can give 1 hour to our passion, right? I mean, that's what it is all about, right, Shivam? Giving that 1 hour in your 24 hours to something that you love to do.
Actually, Anurag, this was something which made me realize that I'm not super busy if I think I am. So it's all about you. If you want, you will buy out time for what you want to be, what your passion is, and you can put your a bit amount of time in working towards it. And I remember it was around 10th or 12th May that you posted up on that WhatsApp group that I want to, let's start a podcast.
Yeah.
Who's in? And I was the first one to reply, मैं हूँ ना. And then we discussed it out in a week. We were all ready with what to do, what not to do, how to do, and everything. And amongst that, there were tons of challenges, Anurag. Of course, the biggest challenge was attaining silos so that we record, without any noises of external noises. So that was the biggest challenge, which we are slowly and gradually, gaining up. Or one disclosure, I know it is very much off the topic, but I like to put forth. There have been times जब मैंने और अनुराग ने बिना पंखे के रिकॉर्डिंग की है
Seriously, man.
जस्ट कि पीछे कोई बिल्कुल पिन ड्रॉप साइलेंस रहे और कोई आवाज ना आ जाए, क्योंकि वी वांटेड लाइक द क्वालिटी टू बी सुप्रीम, सो दैट whosoever is listening to us feels that they are listening to a professional, good podcast. And it has been an amazing journey for the last 95 days. We have just grown. We have not looked back. We have just grown. And I'm so glad, so happy that that spontaneity that you have matches with what I have. And there have been times for the last 5-10 days that we have not even written a script. We have just recorded, and we have recorded in one take. So I guess hats off for those
Seriously, man.
one take recordings.
And I also believe that it was somewhere down the line the kind of pact that we made to ourselves. From the first day we had this thing in mind that no matter what, whether I'm available or not, you're available or not, we have to ensure that an episode is going live on that day. And there have been many episodes where I am not there on the episode because of some work or some other emergency, and Shivam had to do that episode all alone. But we made sure as a team that Namaste India never misses out on an episode like in the last 95 days. So that has been great. The journey has been great. And so today's episode, I also wanted Shivam to be on the episode and share a few tips on how you can start your own podcast. I believe podcasting is something which is not necessarily need to be a business for everyone, but it can be like a avenue for reaching out to people. It can be something that if you want your voice to be heard, so this is a great platform wherein you can actually reach out to people without the hassle of creating videos, editing them and all of that. I mean, you can get started with just your smartphone and the speaker on your smartphone. I mean, that's all you need actually to start a podcast, to be very frank. So Shivam, why don't you tell everyone the kind of podcast they can start, or maybe what's the process, what's the initial step somebody should take when it comes to starting a podcast?
I guess, Anurag, the initial step is to be determined about doing it. What we have been like when we started Socially Desi, or when we started Namaste India, we were determined that yes, boss, we will do it, and we have to, no matter what. So just be determined that you have to do it. It's no rocket science in starting a podcast. We have started at times when we were not able to meet. Like generally people record podcasts in one room where both of them are sitting with tons of recording instruments, taking ample amount of retakes and everything. But we did it remotely. So I guess this is a very good example which whosoever wishes to start their podcast should see that no bars can stop you if you have a determination and dedication. Like you'll always come up with some or the other solution if you want to do it. So starting with the basics, the very first thing before starting a podcast is what the podcast will be about, the concept basically. So say for example, I want to speak about current affairs or some political agenda, or it's about a Bollywood podcast, or foreign news, or knowledge sharing and everything. So you need to set the concept from the very first, from the start, that what your podcast will be about. Like Namaste India is all about things that affect your life in the daily routine. So we've been always picking up topics that are very close to people in their daily lives. So you need to be very clear about what your podcast will be about. Correct me if I'm wrong, Anurag. Like this was the basic idea when we started.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you need to understand the kind of theme that you have for your podcast, the kind of niche that you're targeting, right? I mean, if your podcast is all about storytelling, the kind of storytelling that you're doing also matters. Like there are a lot of podcasts which tell you horror stories, right? So there are a lot of podcasts which will talk about erotic stories. So those are like very different kind of narration, very different kind of podcasts. So likewise, Namaste India is all about how the news and whatever you do and the things which affect you in your daily life. And like the Socially Desi show is all about how we help our listeners, our viewers in their daily struggle, in their daily lives, be it, growing in their personal life, or, building their own business, be it entrepreneurship, health and fitness. So the concept needs to be very clear. Otherwise, if you don't have a concept in place, starting a podcast, even though you will start a podcast, but if you're all over the place, then people might not get attracted to you, because at the end of the day, your target audience will get attracted to the kind of concept that you have. So if you have like a very wide array of things to discuss, sometimes people get sidetracked. So don't get sidetracked. Have a concept in place. I guess that will give you a good starting point as to what kind of thing you want to talk about. Like, what is the topic that you want to talk about? So that's the concept. And I guess, yeah, rightly said by Shivam, that determination is number one, because unless and until you are committed to what you want to do and you are determined about it, you might start, but then you'll just phase out, and you will stop doing it after a certain period of time. So I guess determination is number one, and then of course concept.
Uh, Once you are, pretty much clear for what the podcast will be all about, the next big step is the name of the podcast. So, what I feel is, once you have decided, like suppose your podcast will be about cricket, related to cricket. So, your name should be itself very much clear that what your podcast is about. Say, for example, you want to host a cricket podcast, and you name the podcast Bollywood Masala. Makes no point, because what your name will be suggesting is very different from what your podcast agenda is. So, for example, a name like How's That India? Yeah, How's That People? Would be very much suiting to it, because it will be like the word "how's that" will be itself defining what your podcast is about. Like it's about cricket. It's about cricket. What about cricket? News about cricket. What kind of news? Facts, figures, or celebrities, or like there are tons of things then you can do. But once you set up from your name that what theme you have, the concept you have, once you get your audience attached to it, uh, good amount of work is done. Secondly, the name has to be a little catchy. It cannot be plain. It should not be plain actually. So, a catchy names help you to retain the audience much. Also, a catchy name gives an impression in the mind of people that okay, once you hear a catchy name like How's That Cricket, something interesting. So you have to put that into the other person's brain that there is something interesting, which makes them listen to you once and then retain for life. So a catchy name that suits your niche is what you need to look for a podcast name.
Of course, man. And once you are done with finalizing a good, catchy name for your podcast, I believe the next thing would be to have a format in place. Like, for example, Namaste India is all about we both co-hosting the show. So it's a co-host format, right? We both are hosting the show. We both are talking about different topics. And we sometimes get guests on the show as well. So our podcast Namaste India is more of a co-host format where we get a guest sometimes, but mostly it's just two of us talking about it. And the Socially Desi show is all about me interviewing guests, bringing them on board, and we are talking about a particular topic or some hot current affair. But whatever it is, we have a guest in place for the podcast. So likewise, for your podcast, you need to understand what you need to do with it. So the format is really essential. So whether it's going to be just you, is it a solo podcast where you are just the a speaker and you're just talking about it? What kind of podcast format it is? Is it a narrative? Is it factual? Is it like an interview style? Is it audio only, or it has video associated as well? Like currently both our podcasts are audio only, right? But we do plan to have video incorporated as well going forward in the future, as things start to get better around our city. I would definitely love to set up a studio wherein Shivam and I can sit together and make video podcasts as well. But you need to define that as well for your podcast. So I guess podcast format is next after once you have your name and everything in place.
True that, Anurag, because it's amongst those building blocks which actually lay the basic foundation
Yeah.
what your podcast will be about.
Hmm.
Followed by that is very much necessary that you pen down that whether your podcast will be a scripted one or a non-scripted, like spontaneous one. So in our so taking our example for both Socially Desi and Namaste India, we have taken a scripted approach from the very start, not taking a point to point scripted approach, but noting down the points that we're going to discuss about, getting a gist of them, so that we know how the whole structure of the podcast is ready. And this is very much important because if you don't script your podcast, you'll be not in a structured format delivering what you wish to deliver. So, what needs to come first? What should follow that? How to end? How to start? A beginning to the podcast, an intro, an extro, outro, and taking the audience on a journey. If you want to explain certain things, suppose, say for example, in Namaste India, when we start up the podcast, every episode starts with a slang of ours, and we say it. Then we introduce the audience to the topic. Then we state some facts or thoughts about the topic. Then we ask the audience to put their opinions in front, and then we have an outro to end the podcast. So in that way, audience is always attached to you, and they also tend to adapt that behavior your podcast has. So they're always prepared in their mind that okay, in the first you'll explain the topic, then you go deep, and then you'll ask for a hope, or ask for opinions, and then end it in a manner. So you always set a trend in the audience mind that your podcast will be structured in this or this way. In non-scripted manners, yes, you can do your podcast, but please make sure that when you start a podcast and you're new to it, you always go for a scripted approach, because that is very, very, very helpful in attaining a place where in non-scripted also you are very much comfortable, because your mind then places yourself in a manner that you know what to say and what not to say and when to say. So it's very much important that you start off with a scripted approach and then move towards a non-scripted approach.
Yeah, man, that's like really true. When it comes to scripting, we do our show flows, right? We don't have everything word by word written, but what we make sure is that a structure is in place. We know what to talk about next, and we put down subheadings and sub pointers, because at the end of the day, if you're doing something professionally, it should sound professional, right? Even though it's non-scripted, like whatever we are speaking right now, nothing is written down. But the thing is, we know, okay, we need to talk about scripted and non-scripted. So that's the heading that we have written it down. But rest of the things, we know what we need to talk about, because we've been doing this for a long time, man. So we know now, what to say, when to say. So when you're starting off, of course, start with the scripted one. Even though if it's not word by word, that's completely fine. But at least have something in front of you so that you don't get lost. Because I see a lot of podcasts where I listen to them, and the host sometimes gets lost, right, while speaking about a particular topic. So it's really essential for you to not get lost, because your audience will basically, they'll drop off. They will not listen to your podcast anymore. So it's really important to have some sort of a script in place. So that is what you need to decide, whether it's scripted or non-scripted. And once you decide that, the next big thing is the schedule for releasing. So you need to decide whether it's a daily podcast. Can you commit to a daily podcast? Or whether it's a weekly podcast, bi-weekly podcast, monthly podcast. So everything is up to you. But what you need to make sure is, once you finalize a schedule, once you are committed to a schedule, do not change it, because your audience is now expecting you to release that podcast on that particular day, on a particular time. Like the Socially Desi show, very clear. Friday, 10 a.m. in the morning, you get our podcast available across. Same is with Namaste India as well, right?
Yeah, Anurag. So that's something which I'm really proud of, that we have been able to pull off. For 95 days we've been able to pull off on time. Every day our podcast is on air and on the various platforms that we broadcast it through the Hubhopper. And Hubhopper has been very helpful in all this 95 days journey. So I'd like to also present gratitude to Hubhopper for being so helpful throughout. So it's very true what you said, Anurag, that once you make a commitment, you have to adhere to it. So before making a commitment, ask yourself that would you be able to pull off? It's no shame if you can't do a daily podcast, you know that, and you want to offer a weekly. It's no shame because once a week is what you get a 7 days bandwidth. You can easily record any day and then release. It's no hamper that you have to record the the day before the release. So you can have a 7 days bandwidth and you can record it. But if you commit to a daily podcast or something which is of a strict schedule, and you cannot adhere to it, or you cannot commit, pull that off, so you will eventually lose your audience.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we have seen on Namaste India as well. Like when I go through my analytics on Namaste India, whenever, it's not that we have always been able to release our podcast on time. Like for Namaste India, we are supposed to release it every day at 10:30 p.m. at night. But there are times, like sometimes we release it at 11, sometimes we release it at 11:30 because of some reason or the other. So I have seen through my analytics that whenever we release a podcast, after 10:30, those podcasts, we don't get much views because our audience is accustomed to listening to us at 10:30. So people who are now, the regular users, listeners of Namaste India, they expect us to release that podcast at 10:30. So they'll wait and they'll get that notification on their apps or, anywhere that they are subscribed to, and they would listen to that. So you need to be very much committed to that schedule. Otherwise, you will definitely lose your viewers. You will lose a lot of opportunity for new people to listen to your podcast. So sticking to a schedule is very much important.
Anurag, from this only, it reminds me of that moment when you raise a campaign on Twitter, hashtag be on time Shivam. So there was a time when I was every day late due to office work and we were releasing late. So Anurag launched a Twitter campaign with the hashtag be on time Shivam. And it was not on Namaste India, India_Namaste our Twitter handle, but I was receiving on my personal handle. There were a few people who were associated with the podcast for quite a long. They were tweeting me up or DM me on various sources that भाई time से आ जाया कर, क्यों बेचारे को परेशान करता है, ट्विटर पे कैंपेन चल रहा है, तेरा बदनाम कर देगा वो. And I was like, oh, I'll be on time. And since then I've just improved my timings, and we have been able to be near about 10:30 now every day after that campaign ran up.
That campaign was called Get Well Soon Shivam.
That was like there were two hashtags trending: be on time Shivam, get well soon Shivam. So he was like कि ये इतना बीमार है that he's never on time. Like नहीं bro, office sucks.
So yeah, I mean, these are some of the essential things that you need to do when you are thinking of starting a podcast. And like we said, right, starting a podcast has a lot to do with the kind of mindset that you want to have, the discipline that you need to have while making a podcast, because this is a journey, right? This is not something that you just make once and that's it. I mean, this is a regular scenario where you need to be on time, release things, make your formats, make your scripts, record them on time and release them on time, market them, because like once you make your podcast, you need to market it as well. So a lot of things happen, and now we would like to give you a small sneak peek into what happens and how you actually go ahead and record these podcasts, because right now, everything looks fine. Okay, I want to make a podcast. I'll decide my name. I'll decide the format, scripted, non-scripted, blah, 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 schedule and all done. But now this is like the real test wherein you need to actually sit down and record. So I believe, Shivam, why don't you tell everyone what's like the number one thing to do when you are actually recording your podcast?
The first and the foremost thing I'll recommend all the listeners is pick up the quietest place in your home to record. Like जहाँ पे अगर सुई गिरे, like जिसे literally कहते हैं ना pin drop silence, कि सुई गिरे तो आप उंगली से बता दो कहाँ है. Like pick out such a quiet place in your home, क्योंकि when you're recording there are tons of background noises. It'll be not at all as a good impression for all the listeners. So your voice will not be clear. There will be ample amount of background noises that will be coming, and it'll be always distracting your audience from what you were trying to say. And it may happen that your message is not conveyed in the proper manner. So the first and the foremost thing while recording a podcast is finding the quietest place to record. And also it is very much important. Then when you're recording, you don't be very overconfident. Even though you have scripted, don't be overconfident about yourself ki since I have scripted it, I know the points that are on my head and I'll do it. Just for the safety's sake, if you're not doing a video podcast, just have your pointers in front of you. Or if you're doing a video podcast, still open them up in a separate tab or something like that, so that in any case you do not miss on the points and your structure is always on track the way you have written it. So these 2 points are something which I guess if you master on, like a pin drop silence and a structured way always, the rest journey is gonna be so smooth.
True, man, true. And once you have that quiet place to record and your script in front of you handy for the recording, I mean, what I generally do is I have a dedicated area for recording my podcast in my room. Like, I understand everybody cannot have a separate podcasting room in their house, unless you have a studio or you have a spare bedroom to use. So, I mean, what I have done is I have made like my table, I have designed it in a way, I have put in things in a way that it's like handy. Everything is in place. It's a dedicated area where I'm working or I'm recording my podcast. This actually, helps you out to not stress out in setting up all the things every day. Like, for example, for Namaste India, since we are doing it every day, I don't want to set up everything every day whenever I'm recording, because that's like one stress level I don't want to have. So having a dedicated podcasting area, a place where you can dedicatedly work on your podcast, I believe that will help you out in a lot of ways. I mean, you will avoid so many stressful moments that I can't even tell you about. So I guess, that's one tip that I would like to give everyone, that have a dedicated area at least for your podcast or your work, whatever it be.
It actually helps, Anurag, in other ways as well. Like if you don't have to set up your podcast, every day, like you don't have to, put things in place and then start your recording. You'll be always with a very cool and composed mindset. That okay, everything is set up. Just go have to sit over there and start the recording. So it eases off you and clears off tons of things from your head. And it's like a cheat sheet. So the best thing to do before starting the recording is have a mic and sound check. Like everybody does it. We have been doing it. We just did it before we started recording this. We had like dedicated 10 minutes to check everything, that like the sound is fine. We are able to hear each other, the voice quality, the pitches, the tones, everything. So do a thorough mic check and sound check before you start recording, because amidst recording, if you face some technical challenges related to these, that will break your flow, which is not at all good while recording a podcast. So do all the checks thoroughly before starting the recording.
Yeah, man, it's really necessary. And especially with the Socially Desi show, where I have so many guests coming in every week, I mean, it's really essential for me to make sure that the sound and everything is working fine, because the guests who are coming on the show, they might not have time again to record. So, and also, it gives a bad face to my brand, right? If I have to ask my guest again, oh, can we do this again? The sound did not come out well, or, there was some error in the signal or something like that. So it's like really, it doesn't show a good face of your brand. So always have a sound test, always have a mic test before hitting record, so that at least you know what's happening, what's going wrong, what's going right, so that you can fix it. And the final recording is a professional one. And apart from that, what you also need to do is have a glass of water with you, lukewarm water, or have a bottle of water with you, because generally, like with the Socially Desi show, the podcasts are almost like an hour long podcast. And while we are talking for like almost an hour, sometimes our lips, our mouth, we feel dry. And while you're recording, you can hear that. You can hear all of that. So it's always good to have water with you, so that these long sessions, you don't feel dehydrated, you're always comfortable. So I believe that is also a very important tip.
Being natural is something which I feel, Anurag, is also important, right?
True,
So
man.
when you're recording a podcast, if you make out sounds, try to be someone else you have heard or seen during a podcast, and try to be them, or act like them, makes no point actually. You'll be easily caught. So I'd suggest that whenever you record a podcast of your own, be original, be what you are, or bring out something which is unique, never heard. And it always helps if it's your natural voice, it's your natural vocal style. If you make out much, some of the other day, it might happen that what you intend to do as a performer may not come out that efficiently. So if it's easy if you do it in your own natural vocal style, and also make sure that your voices are not too high or too low. So just make your setup and of your equipments accordingly, that you're neither too loud nor too inaudible. It's very much important that your voice levels and decibels are pretty much in place.
True, man. I mean, it's as simple as singing, right? When you are singing, you try to maintain a particular voice level, right? Vocal level. It's
Yeah.
the same with podcast. I mean, you can't feel lazy. You can't be like, I'm talking very softly and suddenly I'm shouting at somebody. That can't be the thing. So you need to maintain a range for your vocal. And this comes with practice. I mean, of course, the first podcast that you'll make will never be the best podcast, of course. Even if you go on Namaste India, you go on the Socially Desi show, you listen to our first 2 3 podcasts and you listen to our latest podcast, you'll feel the difference. You'll see how we have also grown, and that's how you will also grow. So you need to make sure that you have a range for your vocal, and make sure you hit that range and you stay within that range, so that people who are listening to you, they're comfortable and their ears don't hurt, or they don't have to like keep on increasing or decreasing the volume of their phone in order to listen to your podcast. So maintaining that range is really essential. So guys, this was like a basic tips of recording a podcast. And what we are also doing with Socially Desi is that we are working on an ebook. So the team at Socially Desi, along with Shivam, we are working on an ebook which will give you like an ultimate guide to podcasting. So people who are listening to us, who are interested in starting their own podcast, I believe you'll get a lot of good value from that ebook. It's completely free, absolutely free. You can go on sociallydesi.com. On the homepage, if you scroll down a bit, you will see that a section where we are talking about that ebook, and you can go ahead and register for that. It's a simple subscription wherein you just put in your name and your email address, so that we can send that ebook to you completely for free once the ebook is out. That ebook will actually, we will go in deep and in depth of all of these points that we are discussing today. So that you will get to know and you will get more value out of that, because we cannot cover everything on this podcast. Because at the end of the day, even if we cover everything on this podcast, I mean, you will not be able to grab everything like the way it should be, because on the ebook there'll be a lot of visuals, there'll be a lot of examples that you can go through, you can do it yourself. So that ebook is definitely coming out soon. We are in the final stages of releasing that ebook. We are just doing a few QC. We are doing a final check on all the points that we have written, and we have to make sure that it's a quality value add to whatever you want to do with your own podcast. So these were like small tips for these podcasts. And of course, after this, once you start recording your podcast, then you have to make sure that you're editing your podcast and you're tagging your mp3s. I believe these are things, these are very technical terms. We don't want to bore you with these technical terms on this podcast, but definitely on that ebook all of this will be explained in depth, so that people can actually understand, do things in their own way. Because like us, right, we are not hiring any third party to do our edits, so we are doing it ourselves. So we learned it ourselves. So I'm sure a lot of people who would be starting their own podcast would like to do all the things by themselves, at least for the start. and save some money. These things will be covered in depth on the ebook. So definitely go check out the website and register yourself to get that ebook as soon as it's out, because we have our emailing list, people who have signed off already. A lot of people have signed off for the podcasting ebook, and once it's out, definitely they'll be getting it. So make sure if you're interested in that, go ahead on the website sociallydesi.com and do register for it.
Also, I'd like to add to that we'll be suggesting some, equipments and tools that'll be helpful for you both in terms of hardware and software, which will help you in starting up your podcast, categorizing them from beginners to intermediates to experts. So you can refer to them and always get them as per your needs, so that you can slowly and gradually start recording, professional level for your podcast.
True, man. True. And with Namaste India, again, guys, what I am planning to do right now is Namaste India will get incorporated on sociallydesi.com on the website. So all our episodes from Namaste India will also be available on the website. Namaste India will stay as a separate entity, but we wanted to have that on the website so that people can, all our listeners and all our viewers of Socially Desi can also check out the podcast there and enjoy the podcast, because it's a weekly podcast. So we will be doing that because we are in the nervous 90s right now, Shivam. 95 episodes of Namaste India.
Actually, I'm feeling like Sachin Tendulkar playing against Pakistan, chasing 250 in 40 overs. Barish ho gayi to Duckworth Lewis. So I'm feeling like that. Playing in 95, audience is demanding a 6, and I'll be like, no, मैं एक एक करके 100 पहुंचूंगा मैं. So it's quite yes, it's true. Nervous 90, and we are on our nerve, and we are planning something big soon. As Anurag hinted, that we are planning to move towards a video podcast too. So as soon as things get better and things open up, so that we can set up things and go for a video podcast. So yeah, there are tons of things which are coming up in the near future, and I promise and I can assure that just stick with us and you are going to experience great content coming from us.
True, man, true. And with that, again, thank you, Shivam, for being on the show today. And you are no longer at the back end doing everything like Amit Shah. You are in front now. So
I'm playing at the front foot. मेरे को 3 number पे उतारा है.
So thank you again, Shivam. Thank you for being on the show today.
It was a pleasure, Anurag. It was a pleasure. And guys, don't forget to go check out sociallydesi.com. Check out their blogs, check out their podcasts, check out Namaste India on Hubhopper, Spotify, JioSaavn. We are soon going to be on Amazon Audible and Ghana app as well. So I'm really thankful, Anurag, for calling me up here. And I hope that you soon hit 1K, and then we'll be celebrating once again. And I'll be on the platform again.
True, man. True. And so that wraps it up for today, folks. If you liked the episode, give it a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and let's go viral. Remember, our weekly podcast features episodes on personal growth, mental health, relationships, business and entrepreneurship, and health and fitness. We would love to have Shivam on our show again in the future to discuss more about podcasting, gaming, and life updates in general. So if you haven't yet done so, hit that subscribe button and go check out our website at sociallydesi.com. And as always, before I sign off, remember, life is black and white and everything in between.